If you're a leader who cares about your team, I'm willing to bet that you want to be helpful and help your team solve problems. But there is a common trap which leaders fall into, which prevents them from solving problems and connecting with their team, building trust. And it's not just a leadership problem. This is actually a human trap, which we all fall into. Imagine this. You're walking down the hallway at work and you pass a coworker on your way to a meeting. And something's off. They look tense, maybe stressed, maybe a little distant. And without even thinking about it, you get the impulse to stop and ask if they're okay. But you're already running late, you've got prep to do, and so you override that instinct and you keep walking. And that's it. No connection, no dramatic moment, no confrontation, just the quiet decision to ignore what you felt. Well, here's what the Arbinger Institute would tell you. That small moment is where it all begins. That one decision to betray your own instinct sets off a chain reaction that leads to conflict, resentment, avoidance, and broken trust. Now, they call this result being in the box. Being in the box is something that we all experience. But when we get stuck there and we can't find our way out, we erode trust, we damage relationships, and we undermine our own performance. And for leaders and managers, a team full of people in the box is a team that's failing. So, what does it actually mean to be in the box, and how do we get out? That's what we're covering today. And it's based on one of my favorite books on leadership, Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. We're going to talk about how we get in the box, what it costs us, and how to get out. Let's dig in. So what does it mean to be in the box? Well, being in the box is when we are in a state of self-deception. At its core, self-deception is having a problem or being the problem and not seeing it. Now, it's not that we're lying to ourselves exactly. It's that we genuinely can't see our own role in the difficulties that we're experiencing. So, instead of looking to ourselves, we look to point the finger. We decide that the problem is with other people. And that closed perspective, the inability to see beyond our own reasoning, is the box. Think about someone whom you've worked with who is difficult. Did they think they were difficult? Almost certainly not. If you brought it up, they'd probably have a dozen reasons why the problem was actually with everyone else. Now, that person might be you or me, and we just can't see it. There's a saying that I love: nobody does anything wrong in their own mind. Our actions always make sense to us. We have reasons, we have justifications. We intend to do right by people. But our intentions and our impact are not always the same thing. And when there is a gap, we almost always blame the other person for it. When we're in the box, we stop seeing people as people. Instead, they become objects. They become obstacles to our goals, our peace of mind, and our success. And that's where things start to break down. The Arbinger Institute traces all of this back to something that they call self-betrayal. Self-betrayal is the moment we go against our own instincts. Our gut tells us to do something, and we don't. We don't stop to check in on that struggling colleague or friend. We don't have the hard conversation we've been putting off. We don't speak up when we know we should. In each of these moments, something interesting happens. We experience what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that comes when our actions and our values don't align. And because that discomfort is painful, we move fast to resolve it. And there are two ways to do that. The healthy way to resolve cognitive dissonance is guilt. Because guilt is a signal. It's your brain telling you that you did something wrong, that your actions were misaligned with your beliefs. And when we listen to that feeling of guilt, we feel motivated to make it right. So we come clean, we apologize, we change our behavior. We bring our actions back in line with our values. The other way to resolve cognitive dissonance puts us in the box. Instead of trying to change our behavior, we change our story. We manufacture a reason after our actions that justify what we already did or didn't do. And psychologists call this post hoc rationalization. And it happens way faster than you realize. You might snap at a colleague and then immediately think, well, they've been underperforming for weeks. Somebody had to say something. You might walk past that struggling coworker in the hallway and think, well, I'm overwhelmed too. We all have things going on. These justifications feel real. They feel logical, but they're invented. They're just created by our minds to protect our own self-image after we've acted out of alignment with that self-image. And here's the kicker. When we rationalize not helping somebody, we don't just excuse ourselves, we actually subtly blame the other person. We end up inflating our own virtues while diminishing theirs. It's like saying, well, the problem isn't me, it's you. That's the box. And once we're in it, we don't even know it. Now, what does the box cost us? Let me break down what being in the box actually costs. First, from the personal level, and then for your team. When you're in the box, you lose access to reality. Now, not your reality, but just the reality. You're so anchored in your own perspective that you genuinely can't consider anybody else's perspective. You start to expect that the whole world adapt to you. And when it doesn't, you get exhausted and even resentful. You might say, why can't they just do the right work? And right work by whose standard? You might also think, why can't they just show up the way I need them to? You also lose the ability to grow. Feedback starts to feel like an attack, and so you deflect it. And a leader who can't receive feedback is one who stops improving. And it's also a leader who people don't trust. Also, here's a sneaky one. When you're in the box, you feel justified. Always. You have an explanation for everything. Every frustration has a cause, and that cause is never you. And that certainty feels like clarity, but it's actually the clearest sign that you're in the box. A problem you can't see is a problem you can't fix. Now, what does it cost your team? When a leader's in the box, they don't just suffer, but they spread it to everyone else. In the box thinking is contagious. Your defensiveness triggers someone else's defensiveness. Their blame triggers yours. And before long, you have a culture where nobody owns anything. Everyone has an excuse, and accountability is impossible. And also, trust disappears. And not dramatically in a big blow up, but it's slow and it's quiet. People stop bringing their real problems to you. They stop taking risks and they stop saying what they actually think because somewhere along the way, they stopped feeling like you saw them as a person. You felt like you were just a problem that they were trying to solve. Also, every leadership framework, feedback model, performance review system, all of these are filtered through how we see people. And so if we're in the box, even the best tools don't work the way that they're supposed to. All of this makes the box sound terrible and ineffective. And it is, but the box doesn't feel this way. It feels like clarity. And that's what makes it so hard to escape. How do we get into the box? Well, before digging into that, I'll be honest with you. The desire to make this video came from looking at my own patterns and noticing how often I still default to being in the box and how much work I still have to do. So this isn't a lecture, this is something that I'm working on too. But here's what I found that's helpful alongside what the Arbinger Institute recommends. First, shift your focus towards the other person. The moment you start thinking about what someone else needs to change, you've already lost. You've turned them into a problem. So instead, ask yourself a different question. You can ask, what does this person need that I've been ignoring? Now that single shift from what's wrong with them to what do they need changes the entire spirit of how you show up. It changes how we think. It changes how we feel. And it changes how that other person will engage with us. Before a difficult conversation, I try to set a simple intention. And I tell myself that I'm going to listen for what that person feels and needs. And when I have the wherewithal to set that intention, I'm less reactive, less defensive, and a lot more useful. Second, follow your instincts. That impulse that you feel, the one that says that you should check in on them or that you should say something, that's coming from the most authentic part of you. When you override it, your brain has to explain why. And that explanation almost always puts the blame somewhere else. So pay attention to your shoulds. I should have that conversation I've been avoiding. I should offer to help. I should put down my phone and actually listen. Acting on those instincts keeps you out of self-betrayal and out of the box. Third, get suspicious of your own certainty. If you find yourself always having a reason, always having an explanation, or always being sure that the problem is with someone else, that's a warning sign. The box feels righteous and it feels justified. And so when you notice that feeling of total certainty, pause and ask yourself, is there someone in my life I've been seeing as an obstacle rather than a person? Now that question is often enough to crack the box open. Now friends, this book is called Leadership and Self-Deception, but this isn't just a leadership problem. It's a relationship problem. It's a culture problem. And it's a human problem. What makes it especially important for leaders is the disproportionate impact because of their position. Teams will take on the character of their leaders, and an organization led by people who are in the box becomes an organization in the box, where blame is everywhere. Defensiveness is the human default, and so growth becomes impossible. But the opposite is also true. A leader who can see people clearly and own their mistakes and show up with genuine curiosity, that leader builds something different, something that actually works. Self-deception is a normal human experience, but learning to recognize the box and knowing how to get out of it will change how you lead, how you relate to people, and how you show up every day. Remember that coworker in the hallway? Getting out of the box means that you stop, you turn around, and you ask them how they're doing. It's a small thing, but it's real, it's human, and over time, it's everything. Now, getting out of the box is a starting point, but there is a next level, and the Arbinger Institute calls this the outward mindset. And it goes further than just removing a blind spot. It asks, what would it look like to organize your entire approach and leadership around other people's success? Not as this one-time gesture, but as a system, a way of working. That's where we're going next, and I hope to see you then. In the meantime, if you want to check out some leadership lessons from a couple of Navy SEAL commanders, check out this video.